Hey kiddos, good morning. We are on chapter 11, and Ella is still at finishing school, so she has one friend so far, and that's what we're going to see. So, chapter 11. Except for Erida, that's her friend, I had little pleasure from the society of finishing school. Only Hattie's set pretended to be friendly with me, and then they treated me with that same annoying way when no one was looking. Hattie visited me in public, and she always smiled, but then gave me an order. Her group was a strange group. Hattie and her two called very special friends, Blossom and Delicia. Blossom was the niece and sole heir to an unmarried earl. Her conversation was mostly worries that Earl would marry and have a child who would replace her as the heir, and when she died, she would get no money. This was her biggest concern in life. Delicia, the daughter of a duke, spoke rarely. When she did, it was to complain. The room was too drafty. The meals were not prepared well. A housemaid had acted above her station. One of the other students at school wore blush and makeup. How dare she? The mistresses came to dislike me too. At first, remember, mistresses are the teachers. At first, while I struggled to certify them and began to succeed, they made a pet of me, which I absolutely hated. But when finished behavior became my second nature, they learned I was nobody's pet. I spoke as infrequently as I could and met their eyes only when I was ordered to. And I returned to my old game. Sing more softly, Ella. They can hear you all the way in Frau. I became inaudible to the point where no one could hear. Not so soft. The rest of us would like to hear your sweet tones. I sang too loud again, although not so much as before. Music mistress had to spend a quarter hour inching me along to the desired volume that she wanted. Lift your feet, young lady. This is the spiritist gavotte. My legs shot up above my waist as high as they could go, and so on. It was a tiresome game, but I had to play it or feel like a complete puppet, so I decided to get on their nerves. Hattie didn't tell anyone about my obedience. When she had an order for me, she'd tell me to meet her in the garden after supper where no one else was near. On the first occasion, she instructed me to pick a bouquet of flowers for her. Luckily, she didn't know that I was the goddaughter to a fairy cook. I picked the most fragrant blossoms, then ran to the herb garden hoping to find something useful. Elfswort was my preference. If I found it, Hattie would have an itchy rash all over her face for a whole entire week. Most of the herbs were the ordinary sort, but as I turned to leave, I spotted a sprig of bogweed. Taking care not to breathe its scent, I plucked it and placed it right next to the rose. Hattie was delighted with the flowers and buried her face in them. They're so beautiful, but what? As the scent of the bogweed worked on her, her smile faded and her expression became vacant. What would make you stop giving me orders? She answered in a flat voice, if you stop obeying them. Of course, I had wasted a question, and I had no idea how long the bogweed scent would last. But as long as it lasted, I could ask her anything, and she would have to answer me honestly. Guys, this bogweed thing it makes her tell the truth. That's awesome. What else would stop you? I asked quickly. Nothing, she said. My death, maybe. No likely release from that quarter. What orders do you plan to give me? I don't plan. I just tell you when I think of some. Why do you hate me? You never admired me, she said. Do you admire me? Yes. Why would you do such a thing? Well, you're very pretty, she said, and brave, too. She envied me. I was simply amazed. What do you fear? I asked. Ogres, bandits, drowning in the water, becoming ill, climbing mountains, mice, dog, cats, birds, horses, spiders, worms, tunnels, police. I stopped her. She was afraid of everything, it seemed. What do you want most in the world? To be queen, she answered. A rabbit queen? Only then would I obey her, if she was queen of the rabbits. Her face was changing, resuming its usual expression of gleeful sourness. I tried one more question. What are your secrets? She didn't answer, just tugged cruelly on a handful of my hair. Her eyes lost their dull cast, and I knew she was back. Why am I standing here? She looked down at the flowers, but didn't sniff them again. Oh, yes. What good lady in waiting to bring me such beautiful bouquet. Thank you. She frowned. But one scent is not sweet. Take it out now, she ordered. I removed the bogsweed and ground it under my foot. If I had thought of it, I could have asked her how she could be defeated by me, but I didn't. Hattie's orders were chiefly orders. Chores, really. I think she lacked the imagination to devise more interesting commands. I brushed her clothes, cleaned her boots, rubbed her neck when it ached. Several times I had to sneak into the pantry and steal a cookie or two. On one occasion, I had to clip her toenails. Ew. Do you rub brine into your feet? I asked, trying not to choke from the awful, horrible smell. I took revenge whether I could. Spiders and mice from Madame Edith's cellar found their way into Hattie's bed when she was least expecting it. You know what? I'm making a connection to Matilda in that she is giving her punishments kind of the same way Matilda did for her parents. I like that. I'd stay awake at night and wait for the satisfying shriek when she found one of the creatures in her bed. And so it went. Hattie issued commands, and I retaliated by putting things in her bed. But there was no balance. Hattie was always ahead of me. She had the power. She had the whip. Erida was my only comfort. We ate meals side by side. We sewed together. In our dancing lessons, we were partners. I told her about Frel and Mandy and Char. And she told me about her parents, who kept an inn. They weren't wealthy. Another reason why she was unpopular. When she left school, she would use her accomplishments to help them, to help her parents get more money. She was kinder than anyone I'd ever known. When Julia, the tall wench, ate too many grapes from Madame Edith's arbor and was sick all night, Erida nursed her. Although Julia's friends slept soundly, I helped, but only for Erida's sake. My nature was not so forgiving. In the garden one evening, I found myself telling Erida about my mother. Before she died, we used to climb trees like this one. She rested a hand on the trunk of a low branching oak. We'd go way up and sit as quiet as can be. Then we tossed twigs or acorns at anyone who passed beneath and giggled the entire time. Well, what happened to her? She asked. Don't tell me if you don't want to, though. I didn't mind. I even said that to her. When I finished telling her, she sang an Erythian morning song. Now, I don't know what the tune is, so I'm just going to say it like poetry. Hard farewell, with no greeting to come. Sad farewell, when love is torn away. Long farewell, till death dies. But the lost one is with you. Her tenderness strengthens you. Her gravity uplifts you. Her honor purifies you. More than memory, the lost one is found deep beneath your heart. Erida's voice was as smooth as syrup. I'm going to stop. What type of figurative language is it? As smooth as syrup? Simile. And as rich as the gnome's gold. I cried steady tears just like rain. Another simile. And like rain, they brought ease to me. You have a beautiful voice, I said when I could speak again. We Ariathans, where she's from, are all singers, but singing mistress says my voice is too husky and not beautiful. Hers is thin as a string, and yours is simply perfect, I said. A bell rang in the house, calling us to prepare for bed. Is my nose red from crying, I asked. A little, she answered. I don't want the others to see. I'll stay out a while longer. Manor's mistress will be angry at you, she said. I shrugged. She'll only tell me I've disgraced the king. Not shockingly, she tells me that every day. Well, I'll stay with you, she said. I can watch your nose and tell you when it's not red anymore. Why would her nose be red? Because she was crying. Pay attention. Don't let your eyes wander. I wrinkled the feature. Erida giggled. I won't. Manor's mistress will ask what we're doing out here. I was laughing too. I'll tell her I'm watching your nose, and I'll tell her that I'm wrinkling it. She'll want to know what the king would think of our behavior. I'll tell her the queen watches every night while he wrinkles his nose 7 times. The bell rang again. Your nose isn't red now, Erida said. We ran to the house and met Manor's mistress at the door, on her way to the search for us. The sight of her set us off again. Young lady, she yelled, go to your room. What on earth would the king say? In the hall, she giggled. In the hall, still giggling, we met Hattie. Having a nice time, she said. We were, I answered honestly. I won't keep you then, but tomorrow, Ella, you must spend time with me in the garden. You shouldn't associate with lower orders, like that wench from Eritha, she said the next evening. So she's talking about her friend, meaning that she doesn't want her to be friends with her. Erida is a higher order than you are, and I choose my own friends, thank you very much. My dear, I hate to cause you grief, but you must end your friendship with her right now. Oh no, you guys, this is a problem, because now it's an order. And poor Ella. Oh man. Oh, so sad. Well, I'm predicting that she's going to have to obey it, but she's going to have to figure out a way to get around it. Maybe she'll even tell her friend about her orders. What's your prediction?